Hey, what is going on, warriors? Jose Garza here, your Devil Doc. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about what I think is a very important part of a claim, and that is the VA Form 21-4138. For those of you that don't know, that aren't familiar with those numbers, that is what's called the Statement in Support of Claim Form. So now this may just be a personal opinion, but I think every claim should be submitted with a 4138. Basically, there are two reasons why I believe that. If you're working with the VSO and they have not asked you to fill out a 4138, then they are wrong. If you are trying to do your VA claim on your own and you haven't filled out a 4138, then you are wrong, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you two reasons why I believe that 4138 is really important. Reason number one, writing your story down gives you an opportunity to get your story straight, okay? So inevitably what'll happen is you'll get a call to schedule a CMP, you'll get your exam date, and you will go to that CMP. More likely than not, you're going to be nervous. You're going to get in there. The doctor's going to start asking you a bunch of questions, and you are going to forget something that might be really important, right? So when you have your story down on a 4138, it gives you an opportunity to read that story, right? How that injury or disability is going to be service connected, how you believe that disability or injury is service connected. So when that doctor goes to start filling out those DBQs, those disability benefits questionnaires, for those that aren't familiar with it, there are certain points on those DBQs that have to be hit. And I would advise you to take a look at whatever DBQ, there's one for each disability. Take a look at those DBQs. Make sure that your story matches up with some of those bullet points that need to be hit. Not all of them will apply to you, but there may be several that you will miss when you get in there to have your CMP. The second part of getting your story straight that I think is really important is that it gives you an opportunity to talk to the rater, right? Not one-on-one, but as your claim goes through the process and your rater receives it, they will see this 4138, and in your words, they will see what transpired as far as the disability that was caused by whatever situation you were in. So this is your chance to speak to the rater through your 4138. So I just think that that's really important. It gives you an opportunity to tell your story to the rater. Rarely would you get a rater that would call, as a VSO myself, I would occasionally get a rater that would call and want to speak to me about a claim that they were working on, but you just don't want to give the rater a reason to delay your claim, right? You may assume that the easiest thing to do for a rater is just to deny, right? The VA is really good at denying claims. So you don't want to give them a reason to have to reach out, cause extra work for that rater. In my opinion, what the rater is going to do is just simply say there's not enough evidence, and he's going to deny the claim. So those two things, it gives you an opportunity to tell your story, and it gives you an opportunity to speak to the rater. So very important, the 4138, give it a look. I'm going to get off the screen now and pull up a blank copy of the 4138, and then I'm going to show you an example of a copy that I filled out based on a scenario that is a true story, actually, that I came up with, that I will explain to you while that is up on camera. So 4138, the statement in support of claim filled out by you. Probably, in my opinion, one of the most important pieces of evidence that you could include with your disability claim. So I'm going to pull that form up. Please hit the subscribe button. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, you guys have a good one. Here comes that form. Okay, warriors, what you're looking at here is page 1 of the statement in support of claim form. In other words, the 4138. Section 1 here is just your basic information. You shouldn't have any issues filling that out. Just make sure. I like to use all caps in all of my forms just so that it's clear. But usually there's not an issue getting that in there. If you have an issue with your email address, if you have something that's very long, usually I would put the email, I'm not sure what you call it, but the first portion of the email on the top line and the at Gmail or at Yahoo, whatever.com on the second line there. So probably one of the easiest forms that you will find in the VA database, one of the easiest forms to include with your claim. But we'll go into section 2 here, basically a blank section. Watch out for section number 2 because it basically gives you only about half of that blank space as you're typing it in on a computer, which I definitely advise. You don't want to handwrite anything just because the rater's going to look at it and say it's too, it's not legible, so he won't read it. He won't waste his time. Again, these raters, they're human. They may be having a bad day, and if they look at your statement in support of claim and it's a bunch of scribbling, they're just going to push it aside and say that it's not relevant. So always type that information into section 2, and we will move on with the next page 2. And okay, here you see page 2. Basically, the top portion of it is a continuation of section 2. Again, with this large blank space, for some reason, when you're typing it in on your computer, it only allows you to fill out so much on this page. About 75% of it is usable. So if you do need an additional page, just print out extra or type out extra information on another PDF and print out that page. One thing I want to point out with this is that you want to make sure that on all pages, your social security number up at the top there is being filled in. Usually it's an automatic thing. When you put it in on the first page, it'll fill in on the second page. But make sure that social security number gets put in there so that they know that is a part of your profile. So again, with that, what will happen with this portion, like I said, 75% of it maybe gets captured when you turn it into a PDF. I usually like to print to PDF when I'm going to submit it. But when you go to print, even though you'll see all of the information in that section, you may see 100% of what you wrote. When you go to print, for some reason, maybe it's just me, but only 75 or so % of what you wrote will appear on the PDF, the print to PDF. So be aware of that. Like I said, if you need to use additional pages, do it. I've seen 10 pages of these second pages submitted as part of a statement in support of claim. So don't feel like you need to cram it all into that one little space. Use as many page 2s as you need to get your entire story in there. And then down below, what you'll see is section 3. Basically, all that is your signature and the date. And that's pretty self-explanatory. Make sure that you do sign your statement and that you do date it. So not much to say on that. Again, this entire form is one of the easier forms one of the most critical pieces of evidence, in my opinion, for a claim. Again, it allows you to tell your story, one, to yourself so that you get your story straight, and two, to the rater so they can hear in your own words what you think or why you believe that this disability should be service connected. So again, 4138, in my opinion, one of the most important pieces of evidence that you can include with your claim. If you are doing it on your own, make sure you include a 4138 with your claim when you submit it. If you are working with the VSO and they have not asked you to fill out a 4138, you might want to question who you're speaking to, but everybody has their reasons, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a necessity and it should be included with every claim. So I hope this information helps, guys. Let's keep working on your claim. Let's try to get you an increase or a granted disability and get you some money. So Jose Garza here, your Devil Doc, and I'm here to help. Please subscribe to my channel. It's just getting started here, and I need many more subscribers so that I can continue on with this. And any subscribers that I get are much appreciated. Just a simple click, get up there, subscribe, and I guarantee you, you are going to find something out here that you may have missed, because there's a lot of information out there, and I'm going to try to get you as much as I can. It's all going to be free. I won't ask you for anything. Just do your best on your claim and let's get you some money. So have a good one, brothers and sisters, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, warriors, as promised, here is a filled out copy of a 4138 based on a scenario that I actually experienced as a FMF corpsman out in the field with the Marine Corps. Basic information here. When you fill out your 4138, make sure you stick to the facts, right? Let me get into section number 1, though. You can see here basic information. If you have a VA file number or a service record number, go ahead and put that in. But most of the recent veterans usually just use their Social Security number. So you can see there I lined through it with the red. You do not have to do that when you're filling that form out. Just leave it blank, but your Social Security should work. I also mentioned in the email, the format that I like to use with the email, I usually will put the @gmail.com on the second line, or at Yahoo, or at whatever email domain you're using. You put that on the second line, and on the first line you put whatever your email name, I guess is what it's called there. But if you look at section 2, basically that's a format that I like to use. Your statement of intention there in the first line, and then just a quick stick to the facts statement of the facts. All right, so kind of read through that and set up in a way that kind of just covers exactly what happened. No fluff. The rater doesn't want to hear that. When you write out your statement in support of claim, have someone else read it, someone that you trust, and if they can't get through your statement without getting distracted or without losing interest, then you probably need to rewrite it. Like I said before, these raters are human. They're regular people. They're going to read the first few lines, and if you don't keep them interested, they're going to move on, and they're not going to finish reading your statement. They're not going to view it as relevant, and they're just going to look for something else. So we're going to move on to page 2. One of the things that you want to include with your statement in support of claim is how that injury or disability affects you in your daily living. So almost every DBQ that a physician will fill out for you when you have your C&P exam is going to include the effects of your disability or injury on your social life, your occupational life, and your relationships, either with your spouse, friends, family, whatever. But just include that type of information and just, say, hey, this is how it affects me in a social way. I can't go out anymore because, too much noise would cause. In this situation, if you read through it, you'll see that it's a claim for migraines. Yeah, because of my migraines, I have to take a few days off of work a couple of times a month. And, with relationship, maybe, when you have a migraine, you're easily irritated and you get snappy with your spouse or your children. Include those things, just directly how it affects your life. But don't put too much fluff in there. Like I said, if your best friend or your spouse can't read through it, more than likely than not, the rater is not going to be able to read through it without losing interest. So if you have any questions, again, include them in the comments and I will do my best to answer. I do have a template for how statements should be written. Actually, I've put together a course and have that information. Maybe I'll make another video simply on writing statements in support of claims. But again, if you have any questions, just include them in the comments. And please, guys, don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, throw your questions in the comments and let's get you that money.